Hello people of the interwebs, welcome back. Last time I talked to you guys about the perks of making your own manga digitally and how to get started. So today I'm going to give you guys tips on the next step, which is storyboarding as well as paneling. If you haven't watched my 6 tips to get you started, or aka the part 1 of this how to make your own manga series, you need to do so now, and I will add a link to that in the description below. Alright, so before I begin with anything, let me just reassure the people out there who are feeling overwhelmed. Storyboard may seem like a really professional sounding word to you, and I'm sure we've all seen those like quote-unquote storyboards of comic/Disney people that look like masterpieces by themselves. But I'm just gonna put it out there that that is definitely not the case with the majority of actual storyboards. Most of the time it just needs to be simple enough for the author, aka you, to understand what's actually happening. It's like a rough draft of your mind, if you know what I'm saying. And me, being the lazy person that I am, have probably hands down the ugliest storyboards that y'all ever see in your life. I'm pretty sure even people who don't know how to draw can make better storyboards than me, but hey, it works and that's what matters. So today I'm going to show you guys all the behind the scenes material for my manga when the stars misalign and walk you through my planning process from start to finish. To start off, I write basically what's gonna happen in every chapter down in literal point forms. Like, wow, how professional. I'm actually so lazy to the point where I don't even bother writing out the full names of my characters. And I mean, not to toot my own horns or anything, but I do suggest you guys read my manga first so the rest of this video will make more sense, but whatever, you don't have to, but the link will be in the description. But anyways, for me, the main character is called Elise, so that's what all these E's are, and G is for the ghost, J is for Jin, L is for Lucio, etc. But anyways, as you can see here, these are all super rough notes, but they pretty much tell me what's going to happen, and some will even describe what kind of scene it is. It is actually very important to already start thinking about the scenario in your mind when you do this. Like, no need to start paneling or whatever, but like, you should be thinking about like what kind of emotion you want on a character, or like what kind of angle or shots will happen, and this will help a lot when we move on to the next step. Now, this section of chapter 4 actually ended up being too short, so I merged it with chapter 5. But in spirit of the last video, since I showed the speed paint of the last page of this section, I'm going to focus on this chapter 5 section to show you guys what the final products look like. A lot of the times you can actually cram a significant amount of content in one manga page. I often end up like surprising myself, so these point forms aren't necessarily what's gonna happen per page, but more like what's gonna happen overall. So a lot of time I do end up checking off like multiple plot points per page. So for example, this first point ended up being just a page of its own, and that's mostly because it's the first page of a scene, and usually you should leave some room to establish the setting. Now, the next 2 bullet points were each given an entire page of their own as well, and this third one totally could have been merged with the following, but I decided to make it one page by itself for dramatic purposes. And lastly, this was the page you guys saw me draw in the last video. These are what I like to call transition pages. So a lot of material is crammed in one, and it quickly pushes the plot forward. And as you can see, this covers 2 of the bullet points. Alright, so now time to talk about actual storyboarding. I know a lot of professionals like to use those templates, those like the boxes and like the lines underneath them where you write a dialogue, but honestly, I feel like this is more applicable to film and stuff, so like when it comes to manga, ain't nobody got time for that. For me, storyboarding is like 80% the paneling for manga, because in manga, panels are so important, because bad paneling will make it hard for the viewer's eyes to follow, and things will flow terribly, and no one want to read your pages and know what's going on, even if the story is amazing. And like, I mean, at this point, I think the general consensus would be for me to tell you guys to go look for tutorials and like whatnot, which I do highly recommend. But even more importantly, I think what you guys need are examples. So for whatever genre of manga you're thinking of doing, you can now proceed to do the funnest research you will ever do in your life. Basically, think of a title that inspires you. Maybe it's fairy tale if you're thinking of action, Tokyo Go if you're thinking of psychological horror, or if you're like me, like lots and lots of shoujo mangas. Read through them and try to put all your attention on how your senpais panel things. For me, before I started When the Stars Misaligned, I went through like 5 different mangas and saved thousands of pictures just for reference. And these might come in handy too if there's like a difficult pose that you haven't drawn before, etc. But most importantly, above all else, they will be the best teachers and examples of paneling out there for you. But in terms of actual paneling, allow me to show you guys some of the most common types there are. Note that for my manga, I decided to make it read from left to right instead of a traditional manga where you read from right to left, because I don't know, I thought like I'm posting this for an American audience, so might as well. Either way, it doesn't really affect how paneling works. So how I look at it is a page is generally split in half or thirds horizontally. And personally, I have a tendency to draw one really big panel up at top and then do like whatever else I want with the rest of the page. And I know for a fact that I do this, so I have to intentionally go out and look for different ways of paneling it. And this is where a library of different paneling styles come in handy. When you guys start storyboarding, try to keep an eye out for if there's like one particular template that you're more inclined to than others, and try to avoid it so that your pages can have more variety. Now, of course, there are also ways where you can vertically split up the pages, but I like to reserve those for especially dramatic moments, or if you need to show the full body of a character for like an introduction or something. And another easy way to achieve dramatic effects is with slanted panels. Those by themselves imply motion, so it's really great for that kind of thing. Feel free to Google manga templates as well if you guys don't want to think too much about what you're doing. There are plenty of materials and tutorials out there, so personally I don't think I need to link to any specific ones because I can't remember any anyways. But yeah, okay, so time for me to reveal my ugly storyboards. And here you go. I've mentioned them in the last video already, but still. These mostly goes to show you that honestly, you don't need good art to get started. Once I started planning out the basic paneling, I literally dropped blobs on to show where the characters are, and maybe add like a face, a really bad face if there's a specific emotion that I want them to have. Once again, here I go with the lettering as well to indicate who they are, so I don't actually have to draw facial features. Another important thing to remember when storyboarding for a manga is where the bubbles are located. If I have the dialogue ready in my mind, it makes the process a lot easier, but a lot of the times I have like a general idea of what they're gonna say, but don't really have the exact words, so I just put a bubble there as a placeholder. I mean, this of course could be fixed if you do a script, but like I said, I'm lazy, so yeah. Another thing that you guys need to watch out for is the placement of the speech bubbles. I ran into some trouble with this for the first few chapters. Remember that the eye moves from the left to the right, then top to bottom. And a lot of times I forget the top to bottom part, so I would end up putting a speech bubble below the one that's supposed to come after it, even though it's like left of the one. But anyways, that caused a lot of complaints and confusion, so yeah, don't do that. Also, make sure that you keep an eye out for the flow of the speech bubbles. Don't put two directly beside or on top of each other. The eye likes variety. As you can see, I made a mistake here in the page planning for the page, and I fixed it in the final copy. Doesn't that look a lot better? Also, don't fill up the space with too many speech bubbles either. People are trying to read a manga here, not read a book, so yeah, keep that in mind. If you must, stretch the scene to another page. Actions always speak louder than words, especially for mangas, because in the end it is a visual novel of sorts. So unless it is absolutely necessary, don't make someone narrate what's happening, just show it. And that's about it for this video. I'm going to end it here so I don't overflow you guys with too much information. Next up, I will be talking about how to actually implement it digitally, introduce you all to the software I use as well as how I use it. So make sure you're subscribed to be around for that. If you're already part of the fam, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you're interested in reading my webcomic, When the Stars Misalign, it is linked in the description box below. Let me know what you guys think in the comments as well. But anyways, yeah, until then, I'll see you lovelies around.